welcome to the third day in my video game inspired tutorial week. This is going to be a Sacboy from the game LittleBigPlanet. The game is so much fun. It's so lighthearted and just silly and really easy to do and easy to play with pretty much anyone. So I kind of wanted to switch it up. You know, I've been doing some different art styles through this week and I have some more coming up. So in this tutorial you will learn how to do this burlap type pattern, and we are going to keep it pretty messy because in the burlap pattern of the Sacboy, you know, it has a lot of lines, it looks really hairy and kind of messy, so we are going to stick with that. Thank you guys for watching, and please do check out the other video game tutorials. I will have them all in a playlist called video game / cosplay looks. Do you guys ever think it's funny that, you know, YouTuber is talking to guys in full makeup, I do it too, and then suddenly they're like, okay, let's start the video, and then boom, no makeup, nothing, and it's like, whoa, 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 hold the fucking phone. Who are you? I think about that sometimes, even when I'm looking at myself and editing my own video. I'm like, oh yeah, here I am talking. God, I look so cute. Whoa, whoa, shit, Jesus. Anyways, to the tutorial. Alright, first we're gonna start with lining the mouth and eyes. I'm just using a pencil from OCC. This is called Feathered, but you could really use any colored liner. It doesn't matter because it's gonna get covered up anyways. Now going in with this large C707/J jumbo foundation brush from Mayron Makeup and some Kryolan paints in the numbers 071, 046, and 102. I'm just going to put down a brown base. I feel like I'm in the makes of being a creepy gingerbread man. I'm using a brush and I just kind of cut it up a little bit so it is very textured, but you could easily use a sponge. I'm just taking the darkest color of brown from the Kryolan palette I have and tapping that around, as well as the lightest color too. Burlap is all about texture, so try to get as much as possible in there. Now onto the pattern that he has going on with the stitches of the burlap. I'm going to be using a Sigma E50 brush and the same paints I used earlier mixed together, but just adding a little bit more of the 071 color, which is kind of a bone type color, I would say. And I'm just using his picture as a reference. Try to keep the arrows of his stitches very straight because we do want them to look very symmetrical to each other and be around the same size. And I'm just going to do that forever, over and over, forever. I kept getting a little confused, so pretty much just pretend you're making those fancy chevron, is that what it's called? Patterns, where it's little, little diagonal lines over and over again. Now going in with one of my favorite brushes. This is from Sugar Pill. It's the lip brush, but it has such a defined edge that it's so great to get right underneath where those stitches would be with some pigment. I'm using, again, like I've been using in many of the tutorials this week, the Morphe 35N palette because it has so many brown and black shades. Still using that dark brown shadow, I'm just going to keep defining all of these little stitches, mainly sticking to the lines that go vertically down. Some of the paints were starting to kind of blend back into the base, so I'm just going to redo those a little bit. Using a tapered Sigma brush, it is the E45 I believe, yep it sure is. I'm just going to blend out some of the pigment that I already put down and just keep adding more. Trying to add as much dimension as possible. I think the amount of fucking times I say dimension in my tutorials kind of blows my mind. With a small E06 brush from Sigma, I'm just going to really define those tiny lines between those kind of upside down V's. This is all still with one of the darkest shadows from the Morphe palette. As you can probably tell by now, I'm pretty obsessed with this palette. I have come to the conclusion that we did not need to do all of that texture that I first did on my first layer. So, let's just X-nay that part. Yeah, I kind of realized that most of that texture and base is covered up with what I'm doing anyways, but I thought some of it would still show through, you know? I don't know. I thought it would still look kind of cool, but nope. So we're just going to continue really defining these lines, and honestly it didn't take too long because I really could do it pretty quickly because we are doing it so messy and it doesn't have to be so precise and clean. I'm going in with some black paint from Kryolan and the E06 brush from Sigma still, and I'm just going to start putting a little bit of black in some of those creases where the stitches are. For, guess what, some more dimension. I should just have a tally or something of how many times I say dimension. Jesus. I'm pretty much now just going back and blending again with the E45 brush from Sigma, just so that those harsh lines of black that I put down are nice and blended out. With the amount of texture on the Sacboy, I'm going to be drawing some little lines. I am using the MAC 210 brush. It's this teeny tiny little liner brush. I actually use it to draw the little eyebrow hairs when I do my eyebrows as well, but we're just trying to give a ton of texture, and those little tiny lines here and there will make it look like these stitches are hairy and all creasing together. I'm using a little more dark eyeshadow from the Morphe palette and an F55 from Sigma just to make the neck look a little more curved and the top of the head look a little more curved as well. Going in again with that black paint from Kryolan and a large concealer brush from Sigma, I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the eyes. This paint is water activated and it will dry completely matte, but make sure to keep your eyes closed while it's drying so you don't get any in your eyes. Using that same MAC 210 brush, I'm going in with some MAC white acrylic paint to add some highlights here and there with the whole line dealio as well. The MAC acrylic paint is so awesome just because it's so super white, so I'm also using it to give the little gleam in my Sacboy's eyes as well. Now for the tongue. I'm going to be using the E06 and just leftover eyeshadow that I had already on the brush to outline where the edge of the tongue is going to be. Then, again using that large concealer brush, I'm just going to use the black Kryolan paint to fill in the mouth. Make sure to leave plenty of room for your tongue and for the fade that we're going to make for the shadow of the tongue. Again, using a mix of Kryolan paints for the tongue, I used R22 and 079 to get this kind of hot pink color, and I'm filling it in with the E06 brush from Sigma. I'm then just going to start blending the black down slowly. If you do look at a reference picture, only part of his tongue is more out, some of it is a little more shaded, so just keep in mind to keep looking at your reference picture and take your time. Since the tongue is wet, I'm going to put a tiny bit of highlight from the MAC acrylic paint on the very edge of the tongue. And there you have it. There is your cute little Sacboy you can run around as, or maybe you just wanted to learn this pattern for something else. Whatever it may be, thank you so much for watching my tutorial. Please subscribe and let me know what you think. Until next time.